friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video was supposed to be my reading vlog for Oathbringer. I'm a whopping 175 pages in, so that's not happening. So I thought I would go ahead and give you a little book haul because I do have a stack of a little less than 20 books that I have been collecting over the last few months. And you know what? I kind of keep them separate from the books I need to shelve when I know I need to film this. So I'll kill two birds with one stone. We'll discuss this and then I can shelve these books. To be totally frank with you, most of these books came from the small bookstore that I work at. I work at an independent bookstore near my area, and I told my boss the other day, I said, I think you hired me so that I would just constantly be buying books and constantly be bankrupt. So that's my life, but I'm loving it. Now, I didn't necessarily buy all of these myself. I do run the book clubs that we host, so she does give me those books every month for free. I do actually choose most of the books for the book club though, so it's still like a win-win. But with that, why don't we dive in? And I'm actually going to start with the only book that I did not buy from the bookstore, and that's because I wanted a specific edition. And that book is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. This is absurd. These pages are some of the thinnest pages I've ever seen in my entire life, and I'm trying not to look too close because of spoilers. This is book 4 in the Stormlight Archive series that I've been reading through. I've been vlogging my experience reading them for the first time, so I will link that playlist down below. I was actually super happy because I've been collecting the UK editions just because I like how they all match, along with my Mistborn books as well. And I was super happy because during one of my reading sprints, I actually met a new friend. Her name is, I believe, Lil from Lil's Vintage World. I'll link her down below as well. But she recommended giving a try ordering from Blackwell's because I usually would do Book Depository, but as we all know, they have left us. So she recommended Blackwell's, and I was so happy because they actually offered free shipping to the US, and I was like, I'll be back, Blackwell's. So I went ahead and ordered a copy, and it looks stunning. I'm so excited to pick it up. I am a little nervous to pick it up because it's heavy, it's dense. These pages are so thin. I cannot really accurately convey to you how small they are. But the other books in the series, they had been splitting them up into 2 parts because they're so chunky and just not the happiest things to hold. But they stopped doing that. They've actually started combining these, and then this is the first one that I've bought that is combined. So I am excited to get to it. I'm scared to get to it. That's it. Then the next stack I'm going to dive into is actually the ones that were chosen for our book clubs specifically. I will say doing this haul is kind of fun because it's pretty rare that I've actually read almost more than half of these books in the whole stack, and that just doesn't happen very often. Usually I'm pretty behind what I'm bringing in. So we run 3 book clubs, one of which is a thriller, one is a Not Your Mother's, where I choose either romances or just societal reflective novels where we can kind of critique something. And then our last is a general fiction or nonfiction. It kind of just changes up depending on what we're in the mood for. So to start with the thriller ones, I have some confusing opinions. So here I have a copy of The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I can't tell you how quickly I'm going to probably unhaul this book. I did not like it. I really loved We Read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by this author, and I thought it was really good. This one really disappointed me quite a bit. It has a lot to do with feminism, and it follows this woman who goes back to her university because her college best friend and roommate has been found. She committed suicide in their at the university, and so she goes back to try and find out what happened because both of them had been enthralled by this cult when they were there. She teams up with this podcast host who I had always thought was going to be a woman, and then it ends up not being a woman. And so I just had some problems with the representation of the savior of a lot of this story being a man. A lot of it seeming like he was the one who was trying to learn her story and uncover the secrets. And I just didn't, it just fell flat for me when so much of the rest of the book is trying to critique the patriarchy, and then at its center you have this arbitrary romance going on. So I was not into that. And then I also have just kind of developed more of an ick for it, to be honest, ever since finding out that it's pretty heavily, I don't want to say influenced, because the author has not addressed it as far as I could find, of the Sarah Lawrence case, but it is very much a lot of what happened in that case, and then she kind of went a different route with it. But I don't like that there was kind of no heart goes out to the victims, no acknowledgement of the real life victims of this story. So didn't really love that. Don't know how long I will keep this book, but I did read it. And then funnily enough, literally on the opposite end, I have The Last One by Will Dean. And this one I've been saying is like my favorite thriller of all time right now. And I don't think it's good. Like, I don't think it's very, very good. A lot of my friends have said that my ratings make no sense, and I am just going to say keep that in mind when you hear me talk about this. This follows one woman named Kaz who is taking an exclusive cruise liner with her new partner, Pete. They are looking forward to it. It's like the vacation of a lifetime. And then after the first night, she wakes up the next morning and she is the only one left on the ship. And it kind of goes from there. She, needs to figure out what's going on, what's happening. It takes some of the wildest twists that I loved and then hated and then loved again. Like, it is really, I wouldn't say it's the most well-crafted novel. I wouldn't say the writing is phenomenal. It's very, very repetitive. Some of the plot twists could honestly be seen as kind of like cheap shots, but I was so engaged. I thought it was going to be such a fun discussion book. I do wish it would have committed harder to some of the things that it kind of went down versus it like had you thinking one thing and then would plot twist another way. And I just wish it would have like committed a little harder in some areas, but I can't say where because huge spoilers. But I do recommend if you want something that is just pretty devourable. Each chapter was only like 1 or 2 pages, so it was a very, very quick read. And I just had a really great time with it. I was definitely shocked and my jaw was dropping a couple times. I do look forward to picking up hopefully another book by this author at some point. I just hope that he goes a different route with it. Like, I don't want another one of his to do the same thing this did, or else I'd be really over it, if that makes sense. And then the thriller pick that I have not read quite yet, this is November's pick, is Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty. I know that this one is not considered like a super intense thriller. This I've seen is much more of a slower literary thriller, but I'm pretty excited because I really did enjoy Big Little Lies. And honestly, this author just has so many other books that have been hits for so many people that I'm just pretty hopeful. I've been joking that this was our surf and turf theme because we had an ocean and now we have an airplane. So this book follows a group of passengers aboard a flight and they are just expecting, smooth sailing, no issues, but they don't expect another passenger to start giving people the ages that they will die and the means by which they will die. And she's kind of just giving them out and then they start coming true over time. And I think it's going to follow a length of time as we just see people grapple with what is fate, what is destiny. And I think it's going to be a really interesting discussion one. This is a newer release. And so I just think it's going to be probably pretty emotional. I hope so. I could do that. Like I said, I could go after like this one being kind of like silly goofy. I'm pretty in the mood for like a more intense, hard-hitting one. And then for our just like general themed book club, the first book we read was Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I thought this was just absolutely fantastic. Chanel Miller is best known as Emily Doe and the survivor of the Stanford rape case against Brock Turner. This was a wonderful book to discuss. It was so gut-punching. Chanel Miller has such a way with words. It is not a light read. It was very, very dense. There was a lot to do with the court systems and what her perspective was. And honestly, what I appreciated so much about this novel was how much she discusses the privilege she had, like how difficult the case was for her, like how difficult it was to prosecute her rapist, even with numerous privileges set up to help her. And I think it's just a really great way to reflect on, how often these cases don't go successfully for people that are not in positions to fight the way that Chanel was able to. I just truly appreciate that she took the time to write out her experience and share it with the world. It's a very intimate, private experience that she was willing to wear on her sleeve and allow everybody to come in and experience a little bit of it. And I just thought it was absolutely phenomenal. I highly recommend this one. This one will not be leaving my shelves ever, and I look forward to revisiting it again sometime. And then I have a copy of The Book Lover's Library by Madeline Martin. This is our November pick, so I've not picked it up yet, but I do know it's a historical fiction that has to do with a woman who is essentially the only care provider for her daughter during the time of war, and so she needs to get a job at a library and wants them to take a chance on her. The really exciting thing is that Madeline Martin has actually asked to join us for the discussion, so I think that that will be a really interesting meeting that's happening sometime in November, and so I just look forward to giving this a try. I'm not a historical fiction reader. That's not my preferred genre. I do have some hope that at least, usually historical fiction is pretty well written, so I'm going to have a lot of I can expect to at least be cozy and have a good time. I also do appreciate that I think this is going to go a little more feminist route with it, which is always like, if you're going to entice me into a historical fiction, I want it to be more than just like historical fiction romance. So I'm very hopeful, looking forward to this discussion. Then the next two books are for the Not Your Mother's book club. So this one I have here is All Fours by Miranda July. I have such a hard time figuring out how I feel about this book. It was so well written. Miranda July is an incredible author. I think she definitely accomplished everything she wanted to with this novel, but it just didn't land for me in a lot of ways. So this follows one woman who basically is going to be taking a cross-country trip. She's an artist, and she pulls over at a random exit and decides that she's going to renovate this hotel room and kind of starts an emotional affair. It was very artsy. It had a lot to do with menopause and the experience of your body kind of changing against you and how difficult it can be to take control back for yourself. And I do think it accomplished that very, very well. Where I struggled was that there were parts of, frankly, sexual abuse and assault that I don't believe were handled well. They were handled actually quite in a way that made me very uncomfortable. And this book is supposed to make you uncomfortable. It is a strange story. You're supposed to feel kind of uncomfortable with it, to say the least. But the parts that I was uncomfortable with, I don't think were the ones she was trying to make me uncomfortable with, if that makes any sense. So I didn't appreciate that rep. There was other representations of polyamory that I just was not a fan of. And so it just was a little too not for me, but I can definitely understand why fans of her writing would thoroughly enjoy this. And it was a really wonderful discussion because we did have some older women there who had gone through menopause or currently going through menopause, and their input was really valuable to my appreciation. So I think I'll keep this for now. I don't plan on returning this yet, but I will pick up more from Miranda July. I just think this one was not the most solid hit for me. And then finally, our November pick for Not Your Mother's is Fruiting Bodies by Katherine Hahn. This is a collection of short stories. It says following characters that are mostly queer and mostly women, and they are on the precipice of change. So I really, really look forward to this. We haven't done a short story collection in any of our clubs yet, and I think it's going to be a really great way to structure the club, structure the discussion, and I'm just really, really excited. Let me know if you've read this. It says here that the author is a PEN/Faulkner Award for Fiction finalist. And when we had chosen this book, it was originally for October, but there was actually like so many back orders on it because I think they were re-releasing it in a new paperback version. Don't quote me on that, but I am really excited. Let me know if you've read this. I love the cover. I'm happy to have it. Okay, that was all the book club books. Now I want to run through just the other ones that I got for myself that I've been interested in picking up. So first of all, I picked up a copy of Mad Ship and Ship of Destiny. My booktube friends here, we've been working our way through this series. I have already read Mad Ship now, so we only need to finish Ship of Destiny. We still need to discuss it. We're not really doing it like on our channels or anywhere live. They're just like our own personal reading adventure. But I love this series. It's a high fantasy series that has to do with sentient ships and the families that run them. I'm in my pirate era, so I'm loving this. So at my store, we do sell used books as well. I feel like I say that every single time I do one of these hauls because I'm always bringing books home. But we've had these 2 copies for quite a while, so I just wanted to pick them up because I needed to add them to my collection. And that is books 3 and 4 of Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. I love this series. Heartstopper season 3 just dropped. We binged it immediately. You best believe that. It was phenomenal. Loved it. So I wanted to grab these 2 while they were there, and they were used copies that are in pretty amazing condition. So I went ahead and grabbed them to add them to my collection. I still will need to get volume 5 and volume 6 when it comes out, but you know, if I'm slowly collecting them, that's fine with me. I can still find a time to reread them before we get the final book. And then the craziest thing in the world happened. Like, you really cannot believe what I'm about to tell you. So someone is coming to check out, and I do this little thing where I'm like, oh, did you find any goodies? Smiley face, like, you know, customer service voice. And this woman goes, yeah, so I'm gonna buy these, and then I'm the author of these books, so can I sign these? And my brain literally failed to compute because it was Sylvia Morena Garcia. Are you kidding me? So she was just in my store. It was amazing. She signed any copies of her books that we had, and so I, of course, grabbed one for myself. Turns out she was doing an event at the library near us, and she just likes to stop by local bookstores when she's doing that. I love this cover inside. And so she stopped by ours because we had a cafe, she said. And so I picked this up. This, all I know about this is it is a gothic horror following a woman who I believe travels to a distant Mexican countryside to get married. I don't plan on reading this year. I'm just not in a gothic literature mood, and I just think this should be saved until I'm more in the mood for it. So hopefully sometime next year. But I mean, she was so sweet. I could not believe that happened. Isn't that crazy? It was the first time where I was like, wow, I work at a bookstore. This is cool. And then the store was actually sent a copy of Between Desire and Denial by Cheyenne Rose. And it came with like some cute little bookish goodies. It came so well packaged. It was really, really adorable. And my manager is definitely not the biggest romance reader, and she likes to read more of just like literary historical fiction. And so usually books that fall into other genres is where I kind of step in and will read them. So I'm really excited to give this a shot. I think this is like a final copy. It looks really well done. Absolutely no idea what this is about, but it's pink. It's adorable. I love the little book mail in it. And hopefully you'll see me read it sometime soon. Oh my god, this says that her boyfriend was her professor, cheated on her, and then made her redo her master's thesis. I don't think he's the love interest. I think he's like the ex-love interest. But I think it might be like a billionaire romance, it looks like. I'm intrigued. So then Nick and I started rewatching Friends. We had never watched it. I watched it all the time as a kid. Do not get me wrong. I watched the show so many times over and over again. But I've never watched it streaming where you can start to finish, experience the whole thing. And especially it's so fun because we are the exact ages of the characters now, which has been just a really, really wonderful experience. But part of that experience that's been tougher has been the sadness over Matthew Perry's murder. And so I saw this at our shop. It was also a used copy, and I just really wanted to bring it home. This is Matthew Perry's Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. This is his memoir that came out just a few months, I believe, before he passed away. I think this is going to be emotional. I don't know if we're going to wait to read it. I wouldn't say that this is a celebrity death that has not affected us. I definitely would say it's one that is a little more emotional. So I think that we're going to have to be in a certain headspace before we're ready to pick it up, but I was very happy to have it and bring it into my collection. It says the forward is actually by Lisa Kudrow, and I did not realize that, and that is Phoebe from Friends. So I just really look forward to reading it. I look forward to watching the reunion special because I did not watch it before when it came out, and I think this is just, like I said, it's going to be an emotional read. Don't know if he was able to do the audiobook. I'll have to look because I do like to read memoirs usually if they are read by the person that they are about. But yes, let me know if you've read this one. I look forward to it. I think it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be worth it. And then I have 3 more books here for you that I just have really been wanting to get to, so I'm happy to have them. And I grabbed a copy of Shark Heart, a love story by Emily Habeck. I have been pitching that I wanted people to read this book at the store for so long, but I'm actually a fraud and I have never read it, but I really, really want to. This I know is going to also be probably pretty emotional. It's a debut novel that follows a young couple who have gotten married when they find out that the husband has an incurable disease that is turning him into a shark. Now, this does follow a world where this disease is not the rarest thing. People do develop this disease that turns them into different animals, but it's not, so it's like a casual part of life, but it's still a serious, devastating part of life. And so I think that this is going to be a very heavy read. I really, really look forward to getting to it. What really drew me to finally wanting to pick it up is the color of this book is absolutely stunning. The original hardcover, I believe, was like a blue color, but then this paperback released in this just gorgeous purple shade, and I loved it. So I look forward to giving it a go. Let me know if you've read this one. I don't know if it's a book that seems like it's for everyone, but it seems like it's for me. Then I have a copy of Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. This is book 1 of the Practical Magic series. I've never watched Practical Magic, but I would definitely like to. I thought this would actually be a pretty great read for November, where it's still that little bit of fantastical, whimsical, but the end of October, so it's not quite spooky. And so I'm really, really excited to get to this one. I have no idea what it's about. I believe it's about a family that is cursed. Something to do with, like, the one she kisses will die, but I don't know if that's the movie plot, if that's the book plot. Literally know nothing, head empty. But I really liked this edition, and so I grabbed it. And then the last book I have, I could not believe we had this used hardcover edition, and that is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. This is a serial killer retelling from a different perspective of the victims. It follows the unnamed murderer, which is highly influenced, at least, by Ted Bundy. But this is specifically supposed to focus on his victims and the importance of their lives beyond glamorizing his name. I love the play on the title, as the judge in the Ted Bundy case called him a bright young man. I love the play on that these women were also bright young women, and I think this is going to be a very important and impactful read. I literally don't know a single friend that has read this and didn't love it. So I don't know how much to say, like, excited. I feel like books like this, it's hard to say, oh, I'm excited, but I am intrigued, and I really look forward to getting to it. With that, though, I think that's the end of this little haul. Thanks so much for being here. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more from me. Let me know which of these books you've loved or you've hated. I do like opinions about what you hate as well. Those are fun. And I will see you in my next one.